We're back with Stephen Crawley, the founder of Love Lane Brewery. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. And we heard that apparently Philip Hammond was with you last week in the brewery.
Yes, yeah, we got an interesting visitor, you could say. You know, it was nice to see him. We were talking about small brews duty and just all things business, really, things Liverpool. So he enjoyed his trip, had a trip around the brewery, saw the distillery, and yeah, whisked away in the motorcade to the university, I think, and on to a dinner in Chester.
Plenty on his mind, I'm sure. Are you ready to pitch?
Yes.
Great,
yeah.
8 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're Love Lane Brewing from Liverpool. We started a railway arch, and we've come quite a long way since then. That's our new home in the Baltic Triangle. It was very difficult to find a site in Liverpool. We wanted to be an urban craft brewery. I'd seen a lot of places on the western east coast of America, and we want to recreate that feel. So we're in the heart of Liverpool's Baltic Triangle, which is quite a creative district. In my original pitch, I said it was a little bit like a poor man's Brooklyn or Shoreditch. So what are we trying to do? We started actually life as Higson 1780 in February 17. We raised the money to refurbish that building. I wouldn't recommend refurbishing old warehouses. I'd never do that again, but we're very proud of what we created. We are basically trying to build the Love Lane brand. The business of brewing is quite capital hungry. You need quite a lot of money, so we are effectively competing with Heineken, Carlsberg, etc. locally, and taps are difficult and expensive to get, but we've made a great start. So we have been very successful raising the money. We're EIS qualifying, and we have a lot of people actually from the industry who have invested. We've got a track record of doing this before, and we saw a great opportunity in Liverpool. There isn't really a brewery within 35 miles of any substance. We think the Love Lane name's a great name, and we also own the oldest brand in Liverpool, Higson's, and we created our own brand, the Gin Smiths of Liverpool. So we've got 2 beers and a gin. A little bit about us. I've been in the industry since 1988. It's been my passion. I'm a failed cricketer. I used to drink, and now I don't play cricket, and I run a brewery. And Paul Seifert was the guy who we bought the Liverpool Craft Brewing Company from. He was ex-finance, passionate about craft beer, but was underfunded, but had secured the lease on the brewery, building that we now operate from. And you know, he's very much Liverpool in his heart, and it's great to have him on board as my sort of right-hand man. And our chairman, whose father was Frank Carson, came to the Northwest when they moved over from Ireland, and has an affinity with the area. His dad was big in Liverpool and big in Blackpool when he was on the stage. And Tony and I were on the board together at Meantime. That's where we met, and that's where the idea really for this project was germinated. I was in Edinburgh, Tony was in Spain. We were together on the board in Meantime in London, and ultimately we talked about Liverpool, and we decided we'd like to some stage do the Meantime of the North. We've built quite a large brewery for a startup, 18,000 hectolitres, and yeah, that's 3 million pints. So lots of nice, shiny, expensive stainless steel. We aim to be the leading brewer in the Northwest, and we'll do that by focusing on what we do really well, which is brewing good quality beer. We'll go into the on-trade, which is something we've done before as well. We will focus on Liverpool and surrounding areas. We will take a step into the off-trade and go with some supermarkets later in the year. We think Love Lane Liverpool is a great platform for some export. Liverpool's very, very well known. You might be aware that one of the football teams at Liverpool is riding high in the Premiership at the moment and still in the Champions League. And what are we raising money for? Well, actually, we ultimately are trying to build a brand, and building a brand is expensive. What have we got in the stable? we had a little bit of a hiatus actually trying to decide what we were going to be called, because I raised money as Higson's originally, but we felt straight away that Love Lane was the brand that we wanted to try and build. But I'd raised money as Higson's, and we'd also had a grant under the name of Liverpool Craft Beer Company. So on our first anniversary, we took the plunge and we actually became Love Lane Brewing. We've got the Love Lane brand. We're based at the Love Lane Brewery, and we have there our bar and kitchen, but we do have Higson's from 1780, and we do have Gin Smiths of Liverpool Gins. Smart new livery. It's a competitive industry. We need to stand out, and we wanted a clean, modern manifestation of our brand. So the people that have helped us with this brand did Peroni, and they did Meantime, and we've got a lot of vested experience within the board and also within the shareholders. Quite a nice play on words. There's oodles of these that we've got. We're sharing the love now, raising crowdfunding, but we quite like that one. Love is in the air. We could use that at the airport. Hello Love, we have on our new business cards. I love Liverpool. The Love Train, expensive at Lime Street Station, but we could use that. And our Love Token. So there's loads of mileage around the brand. We own Higson's. We produce cask beers for the local market, and there's a lot of our older visitors to our retail that love Higson's, and it's great to have something that dates back from 1780 in your stable. Gin Smiths. Gin is obviously very, very popular. There's no sign of it diminishing, and it's great. We get a lot of people coming to the brewery for gin tours. We make the stills just through the window where you're sitting eating. We've got a dry gin, which uses sea holly, the local flower from the Merseyside coast, dried, gives a bit of body to the dry gin. We've got a marshmallow gin. The Chinese used a lot of marshmallow root when they first came over. Liverpool's the oldest Chinese community outside China, other than the oldest Chinese community in Europe. And we have Merchant Navy, which is my favourite, which is Japanese yuzu, Tasmanian pepperberry, and Mexican vanilla. Very nice with a zest of grapefruit.
Thank you, Stephen. Great name. I love the name.
Stephen.
Nice. Love Lane and Stephen.
Yeah. So
Julia, questions.
Yeah.
But you have, go and give me one of those just to hold on to. I probably shouldn't crack it on it. Definitely pale. I'm more of a pale ale, I think. I might have never
Do you know what? The gin looked very tempting.
You didn't bring any gin, so that's an immediate negative point.
No, I only had a small bag with me
Okay,
today.
fair enough.
But you've raised money before. You're raising money very successfully.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding is not the easiest way to raise money, if anybody hadn't registered that yet. So why are you going to the extra trouble to make sure you've got some backing from the crowd?
Well, the first time round, I did find raising the money relatively easy.
Okay.
But we got that from a relatively small amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the beauty of crowdfunding is awareness, but also creating a base to your pyramid and some advocacy.
Right.
So I think we ended up to 370 new shareholders on Cedars.
Okay.
Slightly more than that because we had some private investors as well. So we're probably close to 400 new people who obviously are going to be passionate and love Lane.
And how do you help those investors feel part of Love Lane?
Well, what we'll do is, I think the whole idea of food and drink tourism, if you think back to before distilleries opened up, before there were lots of little breweries in the UK, if you went on holiday to France or Spain, what did you do? You sought out going to the local vineyard, and you ate and you drank if you could in those environments. So what's happened in Britain, there's been an explosion of interest in local producers.
Yeah.
And the opportunity was in Liverpool because there isn't a local producer of any scale. So what we want to do is to get people to come and see us, experience our brand, learn how we make our gin, experience some Scouse hospitality, have a laugh and go away and tell their friends. And our website will have an online shop in it in March. So basically all those people can then share. So if you invest through Cedars, you get a list of benefits, and that includes money off when you come to see us, or money off when you shop on the online shop.
It sounds like the Liverpool bit is really, what you have sort of a dozen or more employees now. How does it feel to be doing that? Would you be doing it anywhere else?
I wouldn't be doing it anywhere else, no, because I had a passion about doing it. So having lived in Edinburgh, I couldn't really do anything more in Edinburgh, and actually I used to enjoy going to Glasgow. And why was that? Because the humour's a bit better in Glasgow than it was in Edinburgh.
Oh dear,
I'm
shouldn't have
surprised.
said that.
Right, I can't believe you said that, Stephen.
If you go to Liverpool, the humour is very similar to Glasgow. So Liverpool, you have a laugh. It's good fun. It's where I grew up. I grew up on the Wirral, so I'm not quite a Scouser. I call myself a posh Scouser.
Yeah, I was going to say. Glad you said it.
So it is edgier and it is different to Edinburgh. I loved living in Edinburgh, but Liverpool is where I wanted to build a brewery that felt like you were in the West Coast or the East Coast of America, and you could see the Mersey. And if you stand on the top of our roof on tiptoes, you can see the Mersey. When I left, actually, you couldn't even contemplate a fish being in the Mersey, but people do fish and eat the fish out of the Mersey now.
It's also the Thames. There was a whale in the Thames, wasn't there, for a long time over the summer?
So.
And you spent many years living in Scotland.
Yes.
And is that where you got the ideas from? Because there's lots of breweries in Scotland that are also destinations. So the old the whiskey distilleries, you can go and tour the distillery, and it's part of an experience.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to Edinburgh in '93, having messed around really in the beer industry in England and played cricket. So I was a failed cricketer, had to give up cricket at some point and work harder. And actually, you go to Scotland, and Scotland's been incredibly successful at building itself as a food and drink experience. So it helps, I think, that they've got multinationals who've operated the distilleries and the visitor centres in the distilleries really, really well. We were part of the sort of dismembership of the Scottish beer industry, so we ended up with the only brewery left in Edinburgh, and we used to get an awful lot of visitors, and you had a sort of a sense of community in Scotland around the food and drink industry, and especially the booze industry. So the Ben event in Glasgow, there'd be 1,200 people in the room. Everyone was very, very friendly, but it was this ambition to do food and drink really, really well that rubbed off on me. We exported to America, and we had an importer who took that to another level. So we did develop one beer that we sold for $50, a 330ml bottle, finished in Highland Park whiskey casks. And so we saw what you could do with beer. But whiskey drives excellence and world-class marketing. So the agencies and things in Scotland were great. So I wanted to say, right, let's take a bit of that and bring that back to the northwest. And Liverpool was the one urban desert left. So the reason why this is an exciting opportunity is it's the 7th largest city in the UK. There isn't a brewery. Sadly there's quite a bit of water, but 35-mile radius around Liverpool, there's over 2 million people. So we can aim to own that space. And with Liverpool being so successful as a tourist destination now, we can expose ourselves to an awful lot of people, incoming visitors, as well as locals. So there's an awful lot of reasons why I've been able to raise the money. And to answer your earlier question, the exciting thing now is sort of broadening that pyramid and getting investors in, from the minimum of 1750 up to however much people want to give us. So we've still got another 30 odd days of trying to broaden that pyramid at the bottom.
Great.
And gin, of course, experienced a comeback, really, isn't it?
Gin's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we have had people just absolutely loving the gin tours. So they get the history of gin to start with. They get told how it's made. They then get shown the botanicals. A lot of people now take that to the next stage, and we may well do that, where people can mess around the botanicals and make their own gin as well. But I think gin is so versatile. There's so many different ways it can be spun. We've stuck very much to juniper forward gins. The big craze has been fruit forward, almost I'd call them alcopop gins. But people do love sweet alcohol, but we've kind of stayed at the sort of the pucker end of gin.
And that growth last year, you talked about, missing your £1 million target as opposed to tripling the year before. So where did that growth come from?
The growth came from opening the retail,
right,
and actually having capacity to be able to produce more beer.
Yeah. So
the year before and the year before that, we were constrained
by not
having, and ultimately we've worked really, really hard on quality and consistency. So I think what we are now, we've come out of sort of project mode, and we're now into building a business mode, and that's challenging, but that's more my comfort zone rather than refurbishing old buildings and raising money.
Excellent.
Stephen, that's all we've got time for today.
Thank you very much.
Great to meet you.
If you would like to find out more about Love Lane Brewing, you can do so on Cedar's website, which is cedars.com.